Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar, How to Use Vibe Coding to Scale Revenue Teams with AI. I am Alicia Smith, the Senior Webinar Producer at Zapier. Definitely not AI, in case anyone is wondering, which many of you probably will, just because we are talking about AI. Before we go any further, I want to go through a few housekeeping items. First, that this is being recorded. So anything that you miss, you can always rewatch via the link that is in your inbox, or a more professional version of a recording will be sent out in 3 to 5 business days that you can share. It will also be posted on the YouTube channel, so feel free to enjoy this. We'll have time for Q&A at the end of the presentation, so please send your questions as they come up. We're here as a resource for you. We love questions. Questions are the best. Sometimes we don't like the sound of our own voice. However, we do want to, if we're going to hear it, we'd rather have it be something that you're interested in hearing. Last, we recommend everyone use Google Chrome for the streaming effect. It helps with audio and visual quality throughout. Now, our agenda for today will be first our speaker introductions. We have some amazing thought leaders, subject matter experts, whatever you'd like to call them in the tech sphere, who are going to talk about today's topic, which is really, really interesting, at least to me, especially as a SoCal person who loves the word vibes. And then we're going to go through what is vibe coding. This will be an interesting starting point. Demos for how it applies in your day-to-day life. So not just talking about it intellectually, but actually getting down and dirty with the actual vibe coding, if you will, or vibe prompting. Then some polls and announcements, and last but not least, some Q&A. And before we get started, let's get a room vibe check. And I'm going to run a few polls just so we get to know you all a bit better. First, we would love to know what is your job role, just so we know who we're talking to, if you're in the right place. If you're not, you still might find it cool. Give everyone about 15 seconds. Are you in marketing, sales, customer success, enablement, operations, other? I know there's a lot of overlap here. You could be in one of many, part of a revenue team. If you select the other, feel free to put it in the questions box and we can see what all you're working on. And I'll give about 5 more seconds there. And let us see. So far, 43% of the room is marketing, 20% of the room is other. So please, again, feel free to send that in the questions box. Curious who all that is. And then 19% operations. Now, we would also love to know, where is your organization currently in its AI journey? This is something that can tell us how in depth we should go, how high level, just to get a pulse check here. Are you in LLM testing, experimenting with ChatGPT, workflow automation with AI tools, building agent-based workflows, orchestrating AI across systems? Not yet started. I know there's different variances of all, but pick whichever one best applies to you. And we'll give about 5 more seconds there. Okay, so 38% workflow automation with AI tools. You're in the right place. And then 21% LLM testing, experimenting with ChatGPT, 20% building agent-based workflows. So good. We're happy that we have kind of the middle ground here and a few on the other ends of the periphery, but this will hopefully be helpful for everyone. And then last poll for now, because I know you're sick of hearing from me and want to get into vibe coding and our topic of the day. I am a user of, or builder, depending on the terminology, Zapier, Clay, both, neither, but curious. So this one's always interesting to me because sometimes I wonder how the audience gets here when you're not familiar with at least the Zapier brand, because we're currently the host. All right, let me put that in. Okay, so this is kind of interesting mix that we have going on here. 68% are Zapier users, welcome. And then 18% are neither. So you're in the right place to hear from both Chris and Phil about what Zapier and Clay can do for your revenue teams and AI. Now we get into it with today's speakers who are going to introduce themselves. I introduced myself already, and with that, I will let Chris go through who he is and what his background is and all the fun stuff.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you so much, Alicia. And hello, everyone. My name is Chris. My last name's pronounced Villeta. And if you haven't seen some of my videos online, some people like to say I'm a demo daredevil. Have some like cool videos out there demoing how you can use clay while jumping off mountains, flying in helicopters, flying hot air balloons. So if you have a chance, go and check those videos out. I'll share like more about that later. But I work at Clay, and actually that's not my actual job doing those things. I actually was the first solutions engineer at Clay, and what that means is for a lot of the enterprise and strategic deals that come to Clay, we build a lot of those demos. And I saw that only 2% of people here use Clay. So the question is, what is Clay? And Clay is, you can think of Clay as the place for you to launch all of your creative growth ideas. And we also give you a lot more data coverage when it comes to finding your customers, whether that's finding accounts, finding contacts that work at those accounts, validating email addresses, phone numbers, finding all sorts of data points from revenue to website traffic, paid social traffic. And basically, it's all in one place. And today I'll show you kind of like a little bit about how that works as it relates to vibe coding. And then also, to answer some more questions later. But Clay is really like a really hot company that's growing right now. We recently raised another $100 million at a $3.1 billion valuation, and we're featured on the cover of New York Times. So hopefully that number increases from 2% very soon, and happy to be here.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris. And now, Phil.
Hey, y'all. Well, Chris, two things. One, you're at 14%, man. Don't shortchange. You got 12 doing both. It's all about how you read the data, man. We're 14%. And also, we definitely both have had haircuts, I think, since our last headshot.
Yeah.
Years. Well, hey, y'all. My name is Philip Lakin. I'm the head of enterprise innovation here at Zapier. I joined Zapier about a year ago by way of acquisition. I was the co-founder and CEO of No Code Ops. We were both a community for ops professionals using no code tools before all this stuff was cool, kind of like the indie rock band of our time. And we also built a SaaS platform on the observability front. But now I basically spend all of my time at Zapier doing two things: creating content on this front to spread the good word about all of this stuff, especially as it comes to how larger companies bring this stuff in and go through AI transformation. I always like to say, making the Shopify CEO promise of AI first real for companies. Doing a lot of content around there and also helping deliver that in actuality through programs, education, et cetera, through Zapier as well. So I work with some of our largest clients around the world on becoming AI first with AI orchestration. So yeah, that's me. My videos are way less interesting on LinkedIn. I don't jump off cliffs or anything, but I do play around with puppets. So if you see my puppet videos out, as spicy as I get.
That's pretty spicy.
They do get spicy. They do get spicy, which is fun.
I need to check it out. I didn't know you do that. Okay.
Oh yeah. They're called AI Trainer, and they are very moderately not safe for work.
As you can tell, this is definitely not AI, because I'm pretty sure AI could not replicate these vibes that both Phil and Chris are bringing to the proverbial room, that's for sure, and hence why humans still matter at this point. All right, and with that, so we're going to go through at least what is, technically speaking, what is vibe coding, and then we're going to hear what Chris thinks of vibe coding and what Phil thinks about it through their lens and their experience and personalities and vibes. So what is vibe coding? It is a method of using natural language and prompt design to teach AI tools how to reflect your brand at scale. Kind of sounds like an ad tagline, if you will. So, and Chris, in your own words, what do you think of when you think vibe coding?
When I hear the word vibe coding, I imagine somebody has an idea for something that they want to create, And rather than having to figure out how you're going to build it, you can just use natural language. And through the use of developments in AI and LLMs, you can essentially create whatever you want, whether it's a website, an app, and even beyond that, there's vibe marketing, there's vibe GTMing. And so it's all around this idea of whatever you think, you can now create. And that's how I interpret vibe coding and the vibe uh, zeitgeist.
And what about you, Phil? What do you think of when you think of vibe coding, vibe marketing,
I got
vibes?
a spicy one here. When I think of vibe coding, I just think of no code building rebranded in a way that CEOs and budgets actually care about. It's literally all it is. And the only difference being you couldn't prompt some of the early stages of this stuff into existence in the past, but now you can. And here's the thing. If you are on this call learning about vibe coding, learning about Clay, and learning about Zapier on any level, you are literally at the best time in history to be either building a career, starting an agency, building a business. This is like the best time to be alive ever on this front. Because I personally, from vibe coding and before its predecessor, no coding, have closed 6-figure agency deals for a micro agency that I started, built a community, sold a company, been promoted internally because of this stuff. Where like this has shaped every part of my career, and so I'm a big advocate of like sharing the news to others. But we are still in the early adoption phase of this, so you might think you were behind, but if you are on this call, you're already way ahead. So I'm jazzed for y'all to learn more about this stuff.
Absolutely.
Philip's an OG.
I also have to say the questions are already awesome. Please keep sending them in. I just wanted to mention to you, Chris. Amit says, love Clay. I feel since most here are marketing, that's probably why the Clay number is so low. I see Clay mostly sitting on ops and go-to-market teams. So a lot of love for Clay as well. And a lot of love for you, Phil, which I know you should not be remotely surprised by. And as Virginia said, can AI do that? Jumps out a plane. That should be your tagline from here on out. All right. Now, with that, I'm going to pass it over to Chris, who is going to show us some vibe coding in action.
Yes. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. Actually, while everyone was talking, I was actually vibe coding some stuff up on my end because we only do live demos here at Clay. Like that's my philosophy. So let me navigate back to this screen. Let me share my screen. Okay, cool. So I prepared like this little thing. I'm going to close this window. Can everybody see my screen?
Looks great here.
Cool, because now I can't see you guys because I just see my full screen. So really quickly, like I'm going to walk you through like a little story to kind of like paint the picture here of what vibe coding is all about and like how I use it with Clay. So really quickly, I'll take a step back. So Clay, we have this AI agent tool called Claygent, and it's one of the most used AI agents in the world for doing tasks like research and things. And we hit a pretty big milestone recently, which is we hit 1 billion runs. And so to celebrate this, like we basically like put out this campaign of our little Claygen guy, and he's like running, right? It's like Forrest Gump, and we hit over 1 billion runs. And I thought, wow, that's pretty amazing. And what that means is that people are using Claygen to do over 1 billion different things since we've launched it, like researching companies, finding people's LinkedIn's, figuring out like what ICP this company searches for, finding a company domain. There's so many different ways that people use Claygen. And I just thought it'd be funny. Like, what if Claygen wasn't running? Like, what if he was sleeping, right? And so I basically created a vibe coded project around Claygen sleeping. Like, what would happen if he was sleeping? And what I decided to do was I did a vibe check, right? I made a post and I said, hey, I vibe coded a website that uses Lovable, Clay, and Supabase. And it basically finds everybody on LinkedIn who's talking about Claygen. And then I share their use cases. And I'm going to ship this tomorrow. And if you're interested, comment Claygen. And like it did pretty well, right? It got like 20,000 impressions. tons of people, right? About 150 people commented. And we're like, we want to know. So I was like, okay, I gotta like actually ship this thing. So I'm gonna show you now my app. So the vibe coded app. And this is Lovable. And I guess most people here probably have heard of Lovable at some point, one or the other. And I can kind of talk more about like my philosophies on how you should start vibe coding. But let's just say, for the sake of simplicity, I started with Lovable. And as you can see here, I have all of this pre-conversations with Lovable, and I was chatting and basically used AI to create this image of Clayton sleeping. This image never existed until I used like AI to generate this image. And as you can see, it's pretty simple. So what I like to do is basically like use my voice when I'm vibe coding things. Um, and you can essentially make changes to the website with using your voice or text, depending on how you like to vibe. And I'm going to show you the website itself because I think something's really important to see here. So when it loads, it basically, you can see these little bubbles forming. And those are people who are talking about Clayagent on LinkedIn. Now, you're probably wondering, like, how do you know what people are saying on LinkedIn? Well, because I hooked up Lovable to a Clay table, I'm actually able to monitor for people talking about Clayagent and then populate my Lovable website through the Supabase database. And I'm gonna like show you that in a really simple way. So this is Clay. And Clay, you can think of it as like a superpower spreadsheet. You can think of it as your creative environment for growth. But we have over 100 different integrations. And like I mentioned before, we have AI agents built within it. It's called Clayagent, and it can do tasks for you. You can also use like other like AI models, ChatGPT, Anthropic, Google Gemini. Like we support a lot of those. And I'm just going to show you like how this works. So within Clay, you can basically monitor for social posts. And if you basically go and open a new table and click on custom signals, you can monitor for people's professional posts. And you can actually like set this up so you are monitoring for people who mention like clay.com, right? So that's what's going on here. And so you can see I'm basically like pulling in people posting things referencing Clayagent. And it's a bunch of text, and I don't want to read all of that. And I'm going to show you how I use AI to condense it and then populate it back to my vibe coded website. So within Clay, because we have the LinkedIn profile of the person that posted something about Clayagent, within Clay, you can actually enrich LinkedIn profiles using our database. We have like a very large database. And you can see I found all these people who are talking about Clayagent. And I can pull in a lot of information, which you can see on the right here. It's all nested objects. And you can see that we have the job title and the org. Great. Why is that important? Because on my website, you can see the bubble kind of has a little summary of what the person said. And I'll show you how I generate that with AI and then vibe code the rest of this. So I use a little prompt here, and I'm using the Anthropic Claude 3.5 model. And I'm basically creating a prompt here which says, hey, go ahead and summarize this LinkedIn post and make it shorter, basically, right? So you can see here, the AI model is running, and it gives me this little summary like this. It's in 3 bullets. And then what I decided to do after that is classify. Like, so basically, like this person said 300 words. Can you just like tell me in like 10, like what are they using Clayagent for? And you can see here, this person's using Clayagent to find Facebook URLs of companies and determine if they're running meta ads. Let's scroll down some more. This person is using Clayagent to research information at scale on prospects. And essentially, I have an API call at the very end here, right? It's just going to my Lovable project. And when I fire off this API call, if I go back into Lovable, you can see it adds the data into my Supabase. What is Supabase? Supabase is just like a database that powers your vibe coded projects. Now you can use different databases, but Supabase is just naturally integrated into Lovable, which makes it really easy. But basically, you can see how we basically go from monitoring people's posts on LinkedIn, adding it to a Clay table, firing off that data back into my Supabase, which updates the bubbles. So my vibe coded project is just constantly running. And the cool thing about Clay is I can have a schedule running for monitoring these mentions all the time. So this just keeps growing and growing and growing. Now, to kind of like bring this all the way home, I'm going to show you how you can actually vibe code an inbound lead form as well. So on my website, you can see that I have a lead form. And the reason why is because a lot of people are trying to use AI these days, and they don't really understand what prompts to use. But because Claygent has over 1 billion runs, I figured, hey, if you want to have access to like all the ways people are using AI, drop your email and I will share with you like a PDF. It's like a lead magnet. And why is it a lead magnet? It's because I have a newsletter. And so I figured this would be great to share with my subscribers. So if I put in my email address and hit submit, if I show you my Supabase database, you can see it added my email at Clay. And I have a webhook, which just sends data from Supabase back into my Clay table. And you can see here on this row, not that one, on this one, it pulled in my email. And then this is what I was trying to put together really quickly. But in Clay, you can essentially just say like, run a quick little like check on like some text and only output something. And I'm going to show you how you can find someone's email address from a vibe coded lead form. And so this is like a live demo, right? This is just like running. I'm basically like telling Claygent to go and find the LinkedIn profile URL for like this email address. And like, this is just something I thought about like last second. Let's see, what do we got here? LinkedIn profile URL. So in Clay, it's very easy to just like build these flows. And I thought it'd be so interesting if I could just vibe code the whole thing, where somebody drops their email, it comes into Clay, I'll enrich their profile, and you can do a lot of things after that. You could automate outreach. So you can see here that we have a LinkedIn URL. It found me. And now I'm going to map that back into my enrich person action right here. And again, we're looking at this last row. So it should find me pretty easily. So it found my LinkedIn profile. And now you have all this other information. You have, my name, my job title, my location. You have like my summary of my profile. And like, again, that was all because I vibe coded it. So I basically just said, hey, like, create for me like an email form and then connect it to Supabase. And this is all just stuff I'm talking about. And so it all comes back into my Supabase, which directly connects back to Clay, runs a full enrichment, and you can connect this to other tools to like add them on LinkedIn and all sorts of other things. I know I went way over my time frame, but I hope that was cool. I'm gonna stop sharing now.
No, that was great. Someone actually wondered if you could have used one of our viewers or attendees' emails as a live vibe code.
Let's do it. You guys want it?
Oh.
Do you mind, Phil?
Oh no, please. I also have a live thing like that we're gonna do too. So it's gonna be
Hey, we do live demos here. That's a real one.
Retreat. So we're going with
Let's
the
go.
flow.
Give me here. What's the email?
Here we go. It's Amit. A bunch of people are now sending it in, but I'm going to start with Amit because he prompted this.
Let's do a company domain just so it's easier because it's not set up to enrich for personal emails. Okay. But you can do it in Clay. But I didn't as you saw, like the workflow in Clay was so simple, but in Clay we have like the highest email coverage rates because we have a waterfall technique. So we get like a 70% coverage on work emails and like maybe like slightly half of that on personal emails. So like, just for the sake of this demo, let's do a work email.
All right, I will put one in the chat that popped up, if you will. There you go.
Let me see. Okay, that's info@CodeNimby. Now, that doesn't sound like it's going to be a work email.
You can
How
use
about,
mine.
yeah, drop yours in there, Alicia.
All right, perfect. Okay.
All right, let's go back to the screen share. And let me pop this open. And if I go back to the app, so this is the vibe coded website. I'm going to drop in alicia.smith@zapier.com, submit. I'm going to look into my Clay table. And you can see here the webhook fired on the bottom. It captured all the data. Now, again, I can vibe code the website to say, make the form first name, last name, like whatever I want. But with more form fields, you have increased drop-off rates. So it's just an email. In Clay, you can get so much information. For example, because I have the domain here. Oh, so somebody already like saw the domain of my website, and someone submitted, like, people are already starting to like drop their own emails into here. Jason Price at myplumber.com. So Jason, look, it got you right here, man. Let me open your profile. So this is Jason Price. Jason's on the call. And yes, like Clay is extremely powerful for vibe coding. And honestly, like at the very end, I'm going to like shamelessly plug like how you can vibe code stuff with Clay and like Lovable. And so you can see here we have Alicia as well. Alicia Smith. Here we go. And from this profile, you can basically extract company domains. So we see it's like Zapier, and then we can basically figure out like how much website traffic do they get. There's over 100 different data providers in Clay that you have access to, and you can enrich your data. You just need to have first-party data to start, or you can use Clay to find that data. But you can see here we have hundreds of integrations that you can use to enrich your profile information. And we've coded a website. We've coded inbound lead form, pushed it into Clay, ran enrichments, updated the website, and the bubbles are literally sourced from people on LinkedIn talking about ClayJit. So I'll stop there. Sorry, guys. I know I ranted. I'm sorry.
It's amazing. I'm learning. I'm sitting here taking notes.
Yay.
And thank you for using Clay as the mechanism for describing how you would vibe code. I think that was one thing we want to make clear about the webinar is that it's not about promoting our products. It's just showing how the process works, kind of lifting the curtain about what people think about when you are vibe coding. And with that, we have a different take on the subject, which would be building a vibe coded inbound flow with Phil from Zapier. So let's go over to Phil.
Cool. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Here we go. Share screen, and I'm going to choose, just like you had recommended, the full. Let's take a look here. Full tab. I definitely know how to do this. I've definitely shared my screen before. I totally promise. Arc tab. And this is going to be VPN, but yeah, this should do the trick. Can y'all see my screen okay?
Yep, looks perfect.
Cool. Amazing. And by the way, if I switch it, do you see anything? No, it's still okay. So I might just go to window eventually, but it's okay. I'll just stay here. So, hey everybody. So first of all, Chris, that was awesome, right? And I think that really cool because you showed both like some internal kind of vibe coding stuff on like the back end mechanics and like some of the external stuff that would be customer facing, right around like using Lovable and stuff like that. This one, we're going to change gears a bit. We're going to look at a full internal workflow, and we're going to go all the way from simple Zap to AI step in the Zap to an agentic Zap, all within a real live working workflow that y'all will be able to participate with. So here we go. I'm going to lift up the curtains here. I'm going to be honest with you guys. with all of y'all. I hate writing newsletters, and I even more hate reading newsletters. I'm terrible at it. I don't have the attention span for it. I don't have the dedication. God bless anyone who writes or reads newsletters. So what I found out is that I like to do is I like to have one-on-one conversations with my audience, and I like to write shorter, more time-sensitive things. So I found this company that I use called Slick Text, right? Where I can send like newsletter style drops via SMS to my US and Canada based audience. And I also have a way to work with global folks as well that I'll show you. And so how that essentially works, and I have a Zap showing how the sign up flow works, is there's a sign up form, and I'll show it to y'all shortly. So you can actually sign up and do this, but I only want you to do it after we build the AI steps. So stay tuned. There's a sign up form for my what I call Phil's Field Notes, right? And when you sign up for that, I get a Slack notification. So this is all built on Zapier. I add a row to a Google Sheet where I keep track of everything. And then there's two paths. If you're US or Canada based, I'm then going to send you to get all your information updated in Slick Text. And what that looks like is we're going to send all of we're going to not show Austin, our director of M&As, all of his private PII, but like you will get all the information will go through into Slick Text and update the Slick Text CRM. And you will instantly get a notification from Slick Text saying, hey, welcome to Phil's Field Notes, something to those lines. Please press yes to, send back yes to confirm your subscription. So it's like double opt-in. If you're global, I say, sorry, you get added to this thing where I just, you get our next email, drop. And it just comes out via email. Now, what I want to show y'all is this is a standard Zap that everybody has access to, right? That like everyone knows about. This is like what kind of got us famous, right? Like, there's no AI here or anything. What I'm going to show you is how to evolve this to an agentic Zap one step at a time. And we're going to do it live. So if you've signed up for Field Notes, awesome. If you haven't yet, don't, because you'll do it more so at the end of this so you can get the experience of this live. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit this actual live Zap. And the first thing I'm going to do is, well, let's say after you've submitted your data, before I, parse things into paths or whatever, before it even hits my Slack, right? Let's say I want to do, let's say I want to write you a message, right? As like your first, I want to formulate some type of, message to send you based on everything that, you gave me. So actually, I'm going to actually put that over here after Google Sheets, right? So after we've done that. So I'm going to add a step, and I'm going to say AI by Zapier. And AI by Zapier is a way to use multiple different LLMs. You can use whichever one you want, right? We work with almost all of them. I'm just going to use ChatGPT 4.0 Mini here. And I'm going to say, what are the input fields here? Like, right? Like, what are the fields that that like I want to bring into this prompt? And essentially what I'm doing here is, if you've ever used ChatGPT, you know what I'm doing here. I'm just having the this AI step in Zapier talk to ChatGPT programmatically for me, so I don't have to do it every time. So if I give it some input fields, something like, if I search for name, right? Let's take a look here. So I take, Austin's first name, I take his last name, right? And I say, this field now is going to be called full name. And the field value is going to be Austin. And then I got to put a space here, space John Caesar, director of M&A here at Zapier. So I'm going to press save. Too many requests. Reload the editor. Here we go. Let's go back here. Let's bring this up. Great. So do input field again, add field. This will be full name. And we'll add a value here. And this will be Austin. And then what will be, let's take a look here. Last name. There it is. Right. And I'll just make sure there's a, of course, there's a space in between these two things. There it is. And no images being analyzed here. Great. Now I've got a new field called full name that Austin has submitted this through my form. but I will use it to instruct this prompt, which is going to write a custom email back to Austin welcoming him to Phil's field notes. So I'm going to add another field here, right? And this field is going to be called job title. And we are going to look for, I think it's called role, current role. Oh, this is a different Austin, actually. Sorry. This is Austin who's a PM at Zapier. And his current role is PM. And then we're going to add another field called company. And we're going to give that a value here, current company. Great. We're going to save that. And the last field I'm going to add is just, I think it's called ecosystem. When people sign up for Phil's Field Notes, I ask them, like, how do they plug into the ecosystem? So I'm going to click here, ecosystem. Amazing. There we go. Okay. Now that I've done this, all of these fields will be included in any prompt that I send. So it'll say, you know, whatever my prompt is, it'll say, here's the full name of the person, here's the job title, here's the company, here's the ecosystem. Now, when it comes to writing prompts, I'm sorry to break the news to you, if no one's told you yet, every single one of you is terrible at writing prompts. It has nothing to do with your skill level or exposure to prompts. It is because you are a human. Humans can't talk to AI like AI can talk to AI. And we've solved that at Zapier by helping you improve your prompts right within your workflow. So I'm going to write a prompt here that says something like, you know, take this person from this form and tell and write an email body to them about why I'm excited they are joining Phil's field notes. And then I also have a little prompt over here that I was getting ready, which is, I'm just going to take this part of it from Phil's field notes, which is just, let's take a look here. Cool. Which is this. Great. And so now what's going to happen is I'm going to press improve prompt, and Zapier is going to work to make my prompt even better. And once that prompt is better, I can then review that prompt. Great. So as a member of Phil's Field Notes team, your task is to craft personalized email body. This is great in your message. This is looking good. Ensure friendly. Oh, yeah. Please include the recipient's name and irrelevant details. Yeah. This looks great. So we're going to go ahead and press generate preview. And now I'm going to get a preview of what the message to Austin would be. So the cool part is I don't have to go into, you know, ChatGPT every time to do this. It's going to do this for me every time someone submits something. And then we're going to bring this into an email step. So, you know, Austin will also get an email from me, which is really cool. A moment. Cool. Hey, Austin, I'm thrilled to welcome you, right? You know, you're going to get early access to this, and this, right? You're going to get some, you know, private perks, right? But we're committed to being a vibrant community. Your background as a PM at Zapier makes you a valuable addition. We can't wait. So maybe I'm going to give it some feedback here, right? And I'm going to say, let's take a look here. Let's go to the bottom of this. And let's say, make the final sign off really specific to the intersection of what they do and what this SMS drop list offers. Cool. And it's great. I can misspell it all I want, and I'll just press improve prompt again, so it brings in that new version. And this is like where you treat AI like a virtual assistant, where like you're training it, right? You wouldn't just like give an assistant a job and be like, go for it. Like you'd watch their first few runs, right? You'd give them feedback. So that's essentially what I'm doing with AI here. So let that generate. Boop. Great. For us, engagement with community, innovations, and private events, we can do this. Great. We're excited to have you on board and can't wait to see how you'll change unique opportunities and enhance your learning journey. Pretty decent. Okay, so some AI stuff that he's related to. Awesome as a PM at Zapier. Oh, this is great. Okay, great. So we're going to go ahead, and the last step we're going to do is we are going to generate output fields. Why do we need output fields? Well, we've generated this one big input over here, this one large output, but we want to slice and dice that so we can use that as tokens for later in the workflow. So what I like to do is just say generate from the prompt. because it's pretty good at picking up like, okay, based on what you're trying to do, we think we can come up with a general first pass of what your output field should be. This is pretty good. So I'm going to get rid of recipient name. I don't need that. I just need the email and subject body. Yeah, we can get rid of that too. Sign off and get rid of that. Great. So these are the two big things I need. And you can also design these yourselves by adding the field and adding the description of what you want it to look for within your output. Pretty easy. We can press generate preview one more time. And now it's going to give me a preview of not the overall output, but the output in the parts that I want it. And that these are the things that these tokens that I will bring later into the email process. Cool. There's a subject line, right? And there's this. Great. Cool. I'm going to go ahead and press finish. I can also personalize that subject line more if I wanted to, but for time's sake, we're going to skip over that. And it's saying this would continue. Great. Okay. So now we have this AI by Zapier step here, but I'm not using those tokens anywhere quite yet. I could bring them into Slick Text and send that to you as the first text, but I want everyone to get it, including my international folks. So I'm going to add another step here, and this is going to be Gmail. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say send. By the way, if you're not comfortable with it sending, you can always create a draft. And I'll go ahead and select my email. Now we're going to configure it. So who's this email going to? Well, it's going to go to Austin, right? So we're going to put his email there, right? Who should it be from? All the stuff that it doesn't need, it'll just default to your regular stuff. But the subject line here will be the subject line that I give it, right? So we're going to look here. That's going to come from the last step, and it's going to be the subject line. Like I said earlier, I can make that subject line personal to each person. We're just skipping over that for now to make it to move a little bit faster. But if the subject line was staying the same every time, I wouldn't even do that. I would just hard code that in here and just call this like, welcome. I would just write it there, but we're not. We're treating it as if it's dynamic. And then for the body, we're going to go plus, and we're going to go body. We'll search for that. And there's the email body. Okay, and it looks like we are running into our first issue here, which is it's saying here's the subject, here's this. That's not such a great experience, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to X out of here. I'm going to go back to here. And I'm going to say two things. I'm going to give it some feedback here that says, remove my signature and subject line from body, make subject line more personalized and engaging. Cool. We'll improve that prompt. We'll run it again. That was my bad for not picking that up in the test. I was just too busy looking at this part, but I should have removed my signature. I should have removed the subject from here. Great. We're going to go ahead and generate a preview. How am I doing on time, by the way, Alicia?
We're about to hit the 45-minute mark, but if our audience wants to stay on and keep listening and we have at least about 5 minutes, 10 minutes left for questions, that would be great. So feel free to spend the next 2 to 3 minutes wrapping up.
Cool. I could have removed my signature part. I could have been more clear about that, but I'm not. So let's just do this. Let's go boom, boom, boom. And let's go to it's going to be this. The email is going to go to that person who signed up. And the body is going to be this, but let's just bring that in again. Body. And hi, Austin. Great. And then we're going to go continue. And so this is what the email to Austin would look like. Hey, there we go. Boom, 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 boom. And so we're going to skip this test. I'm going to go ahead and press publish. And for the last 2 steps here, 2 quick things. Number 1, Alicia, if you can share the link again. So if you want to sign up for Phil's Field Notes and get that personalized email in your inbox, Alicia is sharing the link now. This is how you sign up for Phil's Field Notes. And yeah, you'll be the first to know about like job opportunities and AI gigs and different access to free stuff I give away a lot, like books or different cool stuff I'm doing. A lot of Zapier stuff. Oh, I know I didn't share my screen that front, but Alicia shared it right there. But here's the cool part that I want to show y'all. The last quick thing is at Zapier, we don't force you to be deterministic or use inference. You can use both. So if I wanted to here, right, I could create another set of paths based on the people from the US that signed up at this bottom part, right, where I actually bring in an AI agent, right? So I can do AI, instead of AI, I can actually use an agent and call one of my agents here, right? And in an agent, what I can do, very simply, and I'm just going to speed run this, is I can say something like this. I'm using ChatGPT for this. Create instructions for a Zapier agent to do internet research on a person based on a form and based on what a good fit they would be for all this type of stuff and the work that I do in Zapier in terms of enterprise innovation for companies of 100 people and up, and then rate them on a scale of not a fit, maybe a fit, definitely a fit. And so I've pasted all of the context of Phil's field notes in here with my past drops. So you can see like, things like, roles and credits to different new things. But check this out. I'm literally just going to do this. I'm going to give it to ChatGPT. ChatGPT is going to think. It's going to give me back something. And while we are, I know you can't see my ChatGPT screen. Awesome. Here, I'm just going to do this. Right here, we're just going to say agents.zapier.com. So you can see this. New agent. We're going to start from scratch. And all I'm going to do, I'm not going to build this complete agent, but I am going to show you that I'm going to take the outputs that I got from ChatGPT, because sometimes I like to use ChatGPT to build my prompts also directly. And here we go. It's just loading. Here we go. Oh my gosh, it's a big prompt. This is great. And we're just going to press copy. Great. And I'm going to bring this into this agent. And all I'm going to do is say the trigger is when somebody fills out this form. So I would put in fill out once, or I would put, no, sorry, I would put trigger via Zap, and I would hook it up to the Zap, right? And it can also bring data back to that Zap, by the way. And then I would just put in this. And this prompt that I got back is going to take all the data that came in, and it's going to rate people 1 through 10. And then I would have, or it would rate people not a fit, maybe a fit, definitely a fit. If they're not a fit, I would just keep them in sequence. If they were maybe a fit, maybe I'd send it a Slack message to me and have me determine yes or no, should they be a fit, where I can use an approval step. And if they're definitely a fit, maybe I send you an additional email where you get my Calendly link so we can talk about stuff. So boom. That is, and this agent, instead of just interacting with the LLM, can also interact with live internet. So it can do research. Is it as good as Clay's stuff? Absolutely not, but it does the job on basic stuff. So I'll leave it there.
Awesome. Thank you, Phil. I love our sidebar commentary happening from the audience. People have found you via TikTok, Phil. I did not know it was possible for a B2B breakthrough to happen on TikTok, yet here we are. I see that we have a couple questions here, and I'm going to try to figure out what is the best approach to take. I'm going to just reopen the initial screen that we have. Just to give a little more information for everyone. All right, we just saw how Phil vibe coded an inbound flow. And Phil, someone asked, can you do this for outbound? You don't have to demo it, but is there an outbound flow as well?
There is, and I am not the guy to talk about that. That is Chris. So Clay's #1 thing that it got famous for was automating the outbound side of this. Can we do some of that stuff with Zapier and tables and this and that on lightweight? For sure, but like Chris, I'll let you take away how you would either build a list or and then reach out to that list using Clay for vibe coding outbound.
Yeah, sure. And thank you so much, by the way, for even saying that. Like, that means a lot. Yeah, Clay's whole thing is about how we can find accounts and contacts at scale and enrich that data to send personalized messages. Now, earlier I mentioned that the New York Times featured us because we raised a bunch of money. Now, because we raised money is not a good enough reason to be featured on the New York Times. The reason why is because there was two narratives we were talking about. Number one, AI slop. A lot of people, we all exist in a world today where there's unpersonalized messages, lots of spam, and it's annoying and it sucks and we all hate it and the world's the worst place for it. What we're trying to do is basically help people send personalized messages in a timely manner. And so Clay is great for doing that kind of research using Claygen. And yes, you can connect it to any outbound tools, Smart Lead, Instantly. um, there's so many, I can't even name them all. And you can basically enrich all your data within Clay and then just add an integration to send it to your outreach campaign and then like do outbound. I could share demos on that. I have lots of videos related to that. Like on my LinkedIn, you can check out Clay University. We have like cohort, like courses and curriculums all related to actually teaching outbound. I don't think we have enough time here to show it. But yes, you can definitely do it with Clay. And yeah, it's never been easier to set up a creative outbound campaign than it is today. That is a fact.
Awesome. And here, just as Chris mentioned, he has a lot more information on the outbound aspect. This is everyone's LinkedIn. I did not put in QR codes or all that jazz, but thankfully everyone has a personalized LinkedIn profile. So as you can see, it's /Chris Viglietta. I hope I said that right. Probably too much of an accent and flair, but I said it. And then /Philip Lakin, and then Alicia Bauman Smith, because I got married and there's a lot of Smiths out there, so got to differentiate somehow. With that, we have one quick announcement, which is Zap Connect, which is on September 25th. It's all virtual. I know Phil is hyped about it. Phil, you want to add anything about why people should join Zap Connect this year?
Cool picture.
Yeah, it's so cool. I love the monolith. Look, it's the best way to just like choose your own tracks and get hands-on with this stuff. Learn about the future of Zapier, learn about like actual things that folks are doing. Like we had to stay a little bit high level here because like this is like one big webinar. But the reality is that like there's so many different things that folks are doing with this stuff who are on all different levels, and like you get to pick and choose where you want to go and how you want to learn. And then also lastly, with Zap Connect, I will be hosting the second annual Zappy Awards, where we're going to be recognizing some of the members in our community who got nominated on this front. And that makes me really excited because, look, I love fundraising. I've been a founder. I've done fundraising. Fundraising gets all the hype in the news, which is awesome. But the people like, y'all that are internal companies that are doing ops very rarely get the spotlight for all the incredible work they're doing. So this is one of my favorite parts about Zap Connect is like giving love and recognition to these folks for all the cool stuff they're doing. So, yeah.
Awesome. And with that, we have a little bit of time for Q&A. I would like to dive right in. I know people have asked questions throughout. Chris or Phil, if you want to peruse quickly, but I do have one. I'll start with you, Chris. You showed an example of how vibe coding works in practice. What advice do you have for go-to-market teams who are just getting started with this type of technique? What's one prompt structure or habit that's helped you get better results? Everyone struggles with prompting, and I think this is a great question, and you're an expert here, so I'd love to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, so actually, that's a loaded question, and I see multiple answers to that. One, let's deconstruct it. You asked, how do you actually use it in practice for go-to-market teams? That is a very different question than how I'd get started with AI prompting. So I'll separate those two. So AI prompting, look, you could try and like find other people's prompts, but at the end of the day, you need to learn how to prompt. And so at Clay on our university website, we have like tons of courses around how to get better at prompting, tons of tools, whether it's Clay or Zapier, have ways to improve your ability to prompt AI. That being said, it's experimental. You need to like play around with it a lot. You need to like iterate on your outputs constantly until you figure out what works for you. That first question, how do go-to-market teams use this? It depends. It depends on what stage your company's at in your go-to-market motion. For example, I taught a boot camp this past week, and something that came up was something that's starting to come out a lot more, which is around CRMs, dashboards, and like showing data visually to reps. No one in here is a rep, from what I can gather. So this may not hit home, but most people don't like going into their CRM and updating information. Nobody likes to do that. That is not a fun thing to do. However, all of our data, all of our first party data, either from CRM, whether in Salesforce, HubSpot, whatever it may be, or your Snowflake and BigQuery and like your data warehouses, all your data lives in there, but there's no easy way to visualize it. And so what you could do is almost vibe code a visual interface of your data that makes it easier for reps to use on a daily basis. Another thing you could do is we generate pre-meeting notes for reps and send it to them on Slack the day before their call. You could create a visual interface of those notes. So you could just say like, I could show you, we don't have enough time, but you could just use Lovable and use your voice and say, hey, build me a visual interface that visualizes my pre-meeting notes every single day. I want the interface to look like, here's the main screen, and then here's every single day in a list view. And then you connect that to your database, which is all of your pre-meeting notes, which I showed you through Supabase. And like, that's just one thing. Like you can almost create a visual interface for any of the things you do on a daily basis. It depends on your job role. So if you have a more concrete example, like what your role is, I could like tailor it. But like really, it's all about vibes.
It's all about vibes.
It's all about vibes. It's all about
Can I
vibes.
tell you-
Really.
Can I tell you for the audience here, just maybe like a little bit on like the non-technical side, like for sure me, you know, if Supabase is intimidating, if Lovable is intimidating for any reason, I'll name drop my favorite tool that I use literally. Like I actually pay out of my pocket my own money for this tool every month because I'm so obsessed with it. Is Zite, ZITE.com. It is like if Lovable had an easy database built into it, plus user auth built in, plus workflows built in, and you can hook up the backend to Airtable or Google Sheets or whatever you wanted. And it's insane. And like the results are incredible. Like you can drop in forms. There's a form thing called Felt that they're related to, but Zite is my goat on this front currently for external builds.
That's a huge shout out coming from Phil.
I don't drop tools like that.
Yeah, that's pretty big. That's pretty big. I have to check it out.
Yeah.
Well, with that, we're running a little short on time. We have quite a few comments and feedback, which is really awesome. Love to see such an engaged audience because obviously, how could you not with these two speakers, Chris and Phil, and all the great vibes going on? I guess I would like to end on one question for either of you. What is something you think that coming into the next part of the year people should be paying attention to, because there's so much noise when it comes to AI or all the MCP agents, all the different terms that you start to feel like you have to memorize? What is something that you think people should be paying attention to, or something people aren't paying enough attention to at the moment that could be really helpful when it comes to their workflows and their job?
Want to go first still?
Yeah, go for it, Chris.
I would take a step back and ask yourself, am I using AI as much as I possibly can? We're already in a world where you have to be an AI native person. I use AI for almost everything at this point. I'll use Perplexity to like do research on where I want to go eat, because I'm not going to go read through a bunch of Reddit posts. I'm not going to go and read through a bunch of Reddit posts. I'm going to use GigaBrain to like summarize things. I'm not going to sit down and try and build a website. If I'm trying to validate an idea, I'm going to vibe code it with something like Lovable or Zite. If I'm trying to spin up an outbound campaign, I'm not going to try and sit there and like manually find people. I'm going to use something like Clay to find companies' contacts. So I can tell you from my own experience at Clay and where our product is going, it's getting easier and easier to use. And we'll soon be announcing like, basically it's a feature which will allow you to just use natural language to build your Clay tables. And that's the world that we're moving towards. So it's just getting easier and easier to use these tools. So the most impactful thing I can share is start using AI. And if you're using it, use it more. Because you're not using it enough. I can say that for a fact. Like, nobody's using it enough, and you'll just become more efficient and more impactful in everything you do, personal life and professional.
I know how to unmute myself. To add on to that, like to even another even step back from that, right, is like I always tell folks the worst way to learn AI is to try to learn AI, and the best way is to just solve real problems. So just like ignore a lot of the, just like ignore, if I were to solve a problem and use AI to like a problem that I care about solving that is maybe somewhat tangible or real to do with AI. By the way, I work at Zapier and I do this all day. Still 40% of the times I'm building stuff, I have no clue if it's going to work, right? Just so you're all aware, right? So try to think like, what's a real problem I can solve that I care about, right? Or my company cares about, or a nonprofit I love cares about, and just solve a problem for them and just keep thinking, could I replace this step with AI? Is that even possible? And then Google it, ask ChatGPT about it, right? And, jam with others on it, right? And then start bringing AI into solving real problems, right? And then you'll run into roadblocks and you mess things up and you break things. But that's like the whole thing. Being an AI expert or engineer is like 80% not knowing what you're doing and looking it up how to do it, right? And then like 20% fumbling your way through something, and like 0.5% of just being like, and it's 100.5% or whatever, but like being like, oh wow, it works. That's cool, right? So that's my big ask for y'all. And then the last thing is, look, I know there were a lot of people here that had questions that we couldn't get to. One thing that I'm starting to do, a lot of the TikTok folks that came here from TikTok, from my audience there, know that I feel really bad that I can't get to every single one of these questions. I try really hard in my comments, but like it gets tough. So tomorrow I'm hosting a free Zoom call where it's just an hour of just asking me anything, and it's just me and you, right? And everyone will come up and you'll learn from each other. And so that link is in my the thing that Alicia just shared on my website. There's a button on my website. You can just sign up for tomorrow's call. So if you have other questions or whatever, like, I want to help as many of you as I can, but I like to do it in an environment where other people can hear from each other.
Awesome. This was really fantastic. I love how organic it felt. Bring organic back again as a measurement of success in marketing, I say, but how can you do that? It's a whole other question. Special thank you to Chris and Phil. I am so glad that I got to pair both of you together for your awesome vibes and perspectives. And our audience too, for coming through and adding some humor, some personality, some different perspectives and questions. Hopefully we can do this again and see everyone next time. Have a great day, everyone.
See ya.
See you guys. Thank you.